to our latest Lunchtime Live. Hopefully you've been with us for some of these over the last few months. And today's one is part of our project called Leeds Fashion Futures, which you've hopefully seen us talking about over the last few weeks. And it's a project basically to look at how we can work together as a city to manage some of the kind of environmental impacts of our fashion choices. So I'm delighted that today we've got Lottie Hanson-Lowe with us from Hubbub, who are an organisation that you may well have seen. We've worked with a lot over the last couple of years. So Lottie, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
No, thank you. Thanks for joining us. And as I say, it is live today. So if you've got any kind of questions that you'd like to put to Lottie when we're going to be chatting a bit about clothing and fashion, and particularly then looking at obviously the kind of festive season, which is going to be a little bit different to normal, but we'll be looking at some of the ideas around kind of managing some of the kind of impact of our Christmas outfits. So, but if I could start, Lottie, would you mind, just for people who haven't come across Hubbub before, would you mind just telling us a little bit about the work that you do?
Yeah, of course. So we're an environmental charity. We're UK based, but happy to work anywhere in the world. And we focus on communicating environmental issues to the public, but we do it in a way that is fun and engaging. So we're not about making you feel bad. I think a lot of us have felt quite jaded by seeing images of, I don't know, like birds with straws in their stomach. And whilst that can be really educational, that can sometimes make you feel a bit paralyzed and not really know what you can do, or not actually lead to you standing in a bar and saying no straw please. So what we do is we go out there and we work with people to create solutions and come up with campaigns that are engaging and give people actual things that they can do that are practical, but we do them in ways that will make you feel like it's really easy. So it's things that will help you save money and save time, and it won't be a really big challenge. And we are all about testing and trying. So we do lots of different things, and we are open for things to not work so we can learn. And then when we've learned that something's really effective, we share that. We do a lot of how-to guides, open resource things. We like to run sessions and teach other people and give them the tools on how to run their own campaign. And we'll cover any topic. We do a lot on food waste. We do a lot on sustainable fashion, which is around talking about the switches that people can make. We do a huge amount on litter and reducing waste, and we're kind of got a bit of reputation for making quite snazzy bins.
And that's very well known in Leeds, obviously.
Yeah. Our ballot bin is particularly successful. I think we've just sold 3,000 bins, which is really exciting for us. So it means that they're definitely popping up all over the country. I think Israel is the furthest we've gone with it. We do kind of any environmental issue, we go where the conversation is, and we try to start conversations as well. So if we see that there's something we think people aren't talking about, but that's really important, we put a lot of our own time and resource into doing research and trying to kind of lead on that conversation. So something, for example, that we did in the fashion space, where we noticed that microfibers was something that we were seeing as an increasingly concerning topic coming up amongst scientists. We felt like there was drips and drabs in the media in terms of conversation, but there wasn't really a consolidated, succinct campaign that was educating the public on the issue of microfibers. So we ran the What's in My Wash campaign, where we collaborated with House of Fraser and ASOS and Campaign for Wool on a series of installations, social media, online collateral, and we pulled all the research out there together and created a go-to place online that people can go to really figure out the updated science and what's going on with microfibers, because it's a real changing landscape in terms of the scientific knowledge on it.
So, I mean, that's quite an interesting point, isn't it? I mean, that you've made there, that I think one of the issues with, environmental campaigning, if we can call it that, is that people can sometimes feel quite kind of powerless. There's so many facts out there, and sometimes contradictory facts and things. I mean, it feels like with Hubbub, you're very focused on trying to encourage people to work out what they can do in their daily lives to change things.
100%. I mean, we are all about putting out all we can and being really positive about it, and then giving people the tools to make the decision about what's going to be doable for them, and give them confidence to try stuff. And if it doesn't work out, that's absolutely fine, but there's other things you can try. I don't like cycling. I'm never going to be a cycler. I know that's the most sustainable way to get around, but I'm not confident with it. So it's fine, because I have other spaces where I am making changes. And it's all about, it's a recipe for you to kind of play with yourself.
And again, I mean, I've been reading about this a bit recently, and I think that's sometimes the mistake that we make, isn't it? That we think people have to kind of do everything in their lives and hopefully do it by tomorrow afternoon. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of actually sometimes like making a start, isn't it? I think, and I think that's where your campaigns work very well.
Yeah, it's completely about figuring out what works for you and trying to do it as often as you can, but also, not focusing on that one time you didn't bring a coffee reusable cup to the cafe, but celebrating the times that you did. Ultimately, we need to see big changes at the kind of industry level and the government level. But obviously, as individuals, there's loads of things we can do. And it's about not feeling like it's this big, overwhelming thing where you're paralyzed. It's just find your thing, find your space, make a change there. And actually, what we've found is when someone makes one big change, it kind of starts to bleed into the way they approach other things.
Yeah. No, that's good. And we'll come on to the kind of bigger system change stuff kind of in a minute, talk about the work you've been doing with government. But just give us a couple of examples of campaigns that you've done. I mean, I noticed one around the about caring for your clothes, I think was the one around that, in terms of like washing them differently to
that's a message that we tried to put in all our fashion campaigns, because it's such an easy thing for people. So that means, washing at 30 degrees or on the coldest wash possible, and being smart about that. I mean, we've had people say stuff like, oh, I can't get my stuff washed like effectively unless I wash it at 60 degrees. And it's like, okay, well, maybe pick your products that you wash at that temperature. But as a general rule of thumb, it's washing on a cooler wash, it's caring for your clothes in terms of, sewing up holes, putting the button back on, making sure you can still wear those things. Those tasks always seem so massive until you sit down and do them, and you're like, that took me 5 minutes. Like, it was absolutely fine. And in front of the telly. And avoiding the tumble dryer, trying to air dry stuff as much as possible, and making sure you wash on the full load. All these things will preserve your quality of your clothing, and then because of that, it means they'll degrade slower and less microfiber release, which is really important.
Yeah, no, good. Because again, some of the stuff that we've been researching for the Leeds Fashion Futures campaign, clearly there are big impacts in terms of how clothes are made, but there are significant environmental impacts in terms of how we look after them, aren't there? In terms of, and I think one of the things that we're taking from what we've read is, if you can keep your clothes longer, that's probably one of the best things we can do, isn't it? To try, to not kind of just think, all right, well, I'll just go out and buy a new item of clothing. Try to think how you can keep wearing some of the same stuff a bit longer.
Oh yeah, I mean, 100% that's the most sustainable thing you can do. That is the number one golden rule when you're thinking about fashion. It's really easy. Just wear the stuff you already own. And if you're not wearing it and you know why you're not wearing it, pass it on. If you know you're never going to really wear it again.
And have you noticed any changes in terms of people's behaviours during lockdown? Clearly although we could shop online, shops were closed for months. I mean, is there any evidence of any changes to people's behaviour?
I mean, I think it depends really on sort of who you are and your income and place in life. I think we definitely saw that with younger people who maybe didn't have so much risk involved with the first lockdown. So let's say people who had been going out quite often, having sending quite a lot of disposable income, were suddenly in a position where they weren't spending that money, so there was more in the banks, and people were looking for ways to feel joyful. So we're doing kind of big online shopping. I mean, I think I don't know if you saw this, but I definitely saw a lot at the beginning of lockdown, the first one, lockdown bingo, which was a meme that was going around on Instagram, and part of it was like orders, a million things from Pretty Little Thing or whatever. So I think in that case, yes, but from a retailer's perspective, they've definitely reported a huge reduction in the amount of clothes that they're selling, and I think that is just because people are tightening their belts. Everyone's very aware of the financial situation and are feeling less inclined to buy stuff, and the reality is that we're not going places as much, so people aren't buying as much. And but that said, we are buying more loungewear, and what we're buying has just changed a bit.
Sure. Yeah, no, interesting. Yeah, and as you say, it's probably changed a bit, hasn't it? There's been a lot of talk of kind of leisure wear, sportswear, trainers kind of being sold a lot more and that type of thing. Yeah, no, good. I was interested to ask you as well. Yeah, the bigger work as well. I mean, I think you've been, in terms of the kind of systemic stuff and the fashion industry as a whole. I mean, Hubbub have been doing some work with an APPG, an all-party parliamentary group. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that?
So it's kind of been a bit of a long and bumpy road, but basically in 2019 we started working on an APPG for sustainable fashion, and then when we had the election, due to the rules, they have to close and then they have to come together again. So after the election in early 2020, we were part of a group that launched a new one, which consolidated some other ones that had been going on before, which is great, which means it's all just in one place now, and it's called the APPG for Sustainability and Ethics in Fashion. And we were working with the Secretariat, who are Fashion Roundtable, on a bit of research. So I guess we were kind of part of the public group that sort of said we'd like this to happen, and kind of worked with the agencies to bring together the MPs. And so before lockdown, we were doing a huge bit of research where I was literally on the phone to like 40 different fashion businesses that all of anyone would know, ranging from kind of really high fashion businesses to much more, much cheaper. So real spectrum of it, and also talking to some factories and different people in the industry to kind of really get a lay of the land of sustainability, really figure out what companies are doing, where they are having kind of huge positive experiences, and where they're also finding challenges. And really what came out of that was very clearly that there's a huge need for more consolidation in terms of the work that people are doing. And there's a really big need for more guidance on what sustainability even means. I think there's a big confusion amongst brands where they're saying, particularly in things like fabric choices, they're saying, well, there's a huge demand for vegan stuff, so obviously we're going to try and provide that. But then, everyone else is telling us that that's really bad for microfibers, and the plastic quality is more degrading, and people don't want to wear plastic. So, and a lot of those, and ultimately the synthetic things are often contain plastic. So it's I think it's quite a lot of contradiction out there that the businesses are trying to navigate. And so we did all that before lockdown, paused it for a little bit, and then actually launched a big report, I believe it was in August, with some updated research kind of based on where we're at now in terms of people's behaviour. And it kind of looks at the behaviour across the spectrum. So we've got stuff around the public, so it's saying we all need to do our bit and make some changes, but we need businesses to provide us guidance, and the businesses need government to provide them guidance, basically. So it's definitely a kind of chain reaction in terms of what we're needing.
No, interesting. And again, I mean, I think in terms of the Leeds Fashion Futures project, I think that's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that the stuff we can do as citizens and consumers, we can, in terms of our clothing choices, but I suppose it is important to acknowledge that bigger kind of fashion system stuff as well, isn't it? And there are certain things that we've probably got a bit of influence on, but then other things we probably need. It is the role of brands and governments to try to kind of some of those big changes as well. But I think we can, the more of us who are engaged citizens who are saying, actually, I want something different, that's going to hopefully push both politicians and
definitely. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but on the weekend, because of Black Friday, I think it was Pretty Little Thing ran a 99% sale, and so clothes are being sold for as little as 5p, and it was really incredible to see the public reaction. You definitely had people who were going, oh my God, this is crazy. I've just bought, 50 items for £10. But you had a lot of people saying, there's no way you can make clothes for 5p that is ethical, sustainable. And it was really exciting to me, particularly to see the public response, and then to see that get picked up by the media. And a lot of newspapers ended up writing articles that came out yesterday saying, this is not okay. Clothes should not be that cheap. I mean, you just can't pay someone on that money.
That's a positive, isn't it? As you say, that it feels like we are moving. The argument is moving forward a little bit in terms of people.
Local,
and again, that's what one of the themes that we're working on over the next 3 months is a theme around valuing your clothes. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? To kind of think, who. Think a bit about the people behind the clothes. Think a bit about how on earth could they be possibly be made, exported, marketed, sold to us for whatever.
And I think especially with the valuing of clothes, I think I've definitely heard it where people have said stuff, particularly around young people, saying, oh, like, I've had this jumper for 30 years. Like, why don't they want that? And I'm like, well, I don't want to wear what I wore when I was 18. I'm a very different person 10 years later. So I think it's around educating people around what that value means. And I think for some people, it will mean value in terms of for them, and they will keep it and they will love it and they will wear it for years and years and years. But value can also mean the resale value. And actually, I think that's something that's really exciting to see in that younger generation, which is when they're making purchases, they want to keep it in good quality because they want to be able to sell it on Depop when they don't want it anymore and get some money back for it.
So again, I think it's, in all of this, there's always a danger of sounding a bit, I'm not sure what the word is, but almost like elitist in thinking it can only be about expensive items that will last forever that we can then resell. But there is actually something about, maybe fewer things but better things. It's part of the solution, isn't it? So
my whole thing is about, we really need more clarity on the different options out there. And sometimes I think in sustainable fashion, the loudest voice can be the minimalist wardrobe approach and the no new clothes approach, which is 100% a very, very good way to go. It's probably one of the most sustainable. And if that's something that's going to really suit you, some people like having a few staple items that they've really thought about, really invested in, and have sourced from really good quality brands. Great, fantastic. But that's not going to be for everyone. And for a lot of people, fashion is hugely about expression, and expression can mean wanting more stuff. And so it's about providing alternative solutions and alternative opportunities. So there are a lot of amazing businesses out there who are doing things sustainably, and I think sometimes people do get a bit shocked by the cost of some of those brands, but they're very fairly priced and they're very accurately priced with the labor that goes into them and the quality of the materials. And so with those products, I think it's about identifying what you want and really just falling in love with them and thinking about it for ages and ages and ages, and saving and investing and then supporting someone in their small business. But if it's the most entry point is the second hand, it is really easy. This is secondhand. It's Zara. I got it from Vinted. I think it's only been worn a couple of times. It cost me like 15 quid, which is the higher end for Vinted. A lot of the stuff on there's like 5 quid. And it's the easiest place to access. And actually, my mum last week realized that her favorite dress we had really worn through, and she literally went on to eBay, found an identical one and ordered it for 8 quid and was like, I'm so happy I've got another version of this dress.
That's good. And again, that is I've heard mixed experiences of people kind of trying to buy clothes on eBay and things, but again, it's clearly another market that is kind of growing, isn't it? Particularly for maybe buying kind of named brands. Do you know what I mean? If you know a particular brand, fits you and suits you, and you see that for
exactly. I think a lot of us know which brands we go to for our clothes in terms of I know that sizing and that shop works well for me. So once you kind of have that information at your sleeve, it's a lot easier when you're searching on places like Depop or Vinted or eBay, Retro or Facebook, even Facebook Marketplace. And
again, I think some more of that has happened, I think, because of and this has been a real negative, but charity shops having been closed for so much time this year, people have looked at other ways online, both to buy and to in some cases to sell. But no, interesting stuff. It's really heartening to think that there is there are positive social trends around this stuff. Do you know what I mean? That there are more people who are starting to kind of think about, as you say, that there's a cost to a £3 dress or whatever it might.
Yeah.
I think it's important to kind of to remember that, isn't it? So, but we could, I think we could chat about that for quite some kind of time, some time. But I'm kind of keen also, with it being 1st of December today, to clearly this kind of festive season is going to be very kind of different to what we've experienced before, but it is a time of Christmas jumpers and Christmas outfits, and I kind of think we probably need a bit of the kind of fun of the Christmas jumper, and we may need to look, feel that we're, even if we're only seeing our families, in this kind of way or whatever. But you were saying before we went on that you're doing some work around Christmas and clothing. If you could tell us a bit about that.
Yes, yeah. So last year we did 2 different research studies. And I think the things that we learned then really still resonate this year. So I know this year's a bit weird, and I know that we're definitely not all going to be going to lots of parties. I know some people dread the office party, but some people do genuinely look forward to it. And New Year's Eve as well. I think obviously we'll be having much more kind of smaller things. But that said, I think a lot of people will still be buying stuff because they want to feel special, and it's like, well, everything else is gone, I might as well still try and dress up. And the same goes for Christmas jumpers. In terms of Christmas jumper day, I think businesses will be saying, let's still do it, let's all get online in our Christmas jumpers. So what we found with both of them last year is, from the research we did, we went and looked at party wear and Christmas jumpers in many different shops and looked at the composition of them. And in terms of Christmas jumpers, we found that there's around probably 65 million in people's houses already, and 2/3 of us already own one, but 2/5 of jumpers will only be worn once over the festive period. So when you look at that, it's like, why are you buying a new one? You really don't need to. And we found that 95% of the ones that we looked at that were new were plastic, which is not great for microfibers, which are tiny bits of fabric that end up in our washing and ultimately end up in our oceans and then make their way back into our food, which is not ideal. So with that, in terms of jumpers, I think wear what you already own. If you don't like yours, see if you can swap with someone, friend or another colleague. But something that's really simple and easy to do is literally you can draw a little Christmas tree and pin it on a jumper you already own, or you can sew on a little ribbon or put on little pom-poms. All those things are like really easy to do. Even if you have no sewing skills, you can use a safety pin. Like it's doable. And then
so some Christmas decorations that you may already have.
Exactly. I mean, we had someone last year stick fairy lights on their jumper, and it looked great. I mean,
well, so Jill, who works for Zero Waste Leeds, she went on local TV with a homemade Christmas jumper last Christmas. So I mean, if you can do that, I think it's kind of, we can all do something, can't we? So
and the nice thing about that is you can wear your favorite jumper and you won't do any damage to it, and then you can take the Christmas stuff off
and
it.
Exactly.
And it doesn't have to sit in the cupboard for 11 months.
Exactly. So I think that's So look for, look in the loft to get the one you had last year and more of that. Find a COVID safe way to kind of swap it with a neighbour or friend or kind of colleague. Are there any other kind of, I mean, the kind of Christmas party outfits and things like that? Is there anything else that you're encouraging people to think about this year? Even though there might be the Christmas parties that I think
with the party wear, I think I'm not going to say to you, don't dress up or don't make yourself feel happy. Like, go and do what you need to do. It's a crappy time right now. But I just would say it's about being a bit more mindful. If you do want to kind of dress up, it's not about ordering 11 things off ASOS and returning it all for it to, by the way, when you return stuff, majority of it gets kind of, not specifically at ASOS, but it does get sent to landfill or turned into car stuffing, so it doesn't actually get resold. It's about not ordering lots and lots and lots to try on at home and not wear it and then send it back, or they'll forget to send it back and still not know what to do with it. It's about thinking about how many events have you got coming up? How many outfits do you want? What can you do with the stuff you've already got? So last year we spent £2.4 billion on party wear in the UK, which is a huge amount.
Yeah.
And which means like an average person spent about 73 quid. It's a lot of money. I mean, it is. So, and 1 in 5 of us wouldn't wear that outfit more than once. So firstly, wear it more than once. You look great. If you feel great in it, wear it more than once. Like, no one's going to care. No one's going to care. In fact, they're going to be like, you look great, because you do look great. And then, if you're looking to get something new, definitely have a think about maybe accessories before outfits. So maybe a new pair of earrings or like a different hairstyle might change the way something looks. And secondhand, I mean, as I've just said, get on Vinted, get on Depop, get on eBay, or borrow from a friend. If you've got something from last year, you're like, it's not really me anymore, do like a little clothes swap over Zoom with your friends, model the stuff, and then figure out a way to give it to each other. It's so much easier, it's so much cheaper, and I think it's just a great way of kind of revolutionizing your wardrobe without spending that £73 and only wearing it once.
Well, and that's the thing, it can save money as well. And if it is, as you say, having a bit of fun at a time that is a bit of a challenging kind of time for us. I mean, I'm not your target market here. Do you know what I mean? in terms of that, but going out and buying lots of new clothes, that's not something I do a great deal. But I we hear a lot about this thing of people being, feeling a pressure not to be seen wearing the same item. Which, as you said, maybe challenge that for starters. So that's one thing we're keen to explore in the project. I'm keen to kind of hear a few more people's experiences of that kind of thing, and because I'm totally honest, I don't, I'm not the generation that feels that pressure, but I hear a lot of it being an issue, and we're keen to understand that a bit more and find ways around it, challenge it a bit, and
it's hugely social media led, I think. It's a real genuine pressure to look different in every photo, and I think particularly how much of our lives is now on social media, that
also even now over the last months.
When I was a teenager, social media was a thing, Instagram was a thing, Facebook was a thing, but images that were uploaded were very like party specific or event specific. It wasn't like everything I was doing was getting uploaded, and that's so different to how things are now. And I know even when I was a teenager, I was like, ooh, like I want to wear something new to the party because there's going to be photos on Facebook, and that even I felt that 10 15 years ago, whereas now it's like all the time, people are being photographed and filmed all the time, and I can totally see why firstly people feel self-conscious and very hyper aware of what they're wearing and how often they're wearing it, but they're also seeing influencers and celebrities not wearing stuff more than once, so they're firstly not seeing that positive behavior replicated and represented in the media, but they're also just seeing a lot of new stuff. And then you see new stuff, you think, oh, I quite fancy some little cycling shorts, or I really fancy it's, as I said with the loungewear, like right now you've got people buying, I don't know, spending loads of money on whole like knit jumpsuits that a year ago they wouldn't have crossed their minds to buy, and in a year's time we don't know where we're going to be, but it might not be useful to them anymore.
Exactly, and the cycle goes on, kind of thing. Yeah. I mean, I'll just put out a call, and we'll do a post on the back of this to anyone who'd be interested in exploring this issue more with us. And I'm thinking particularly kind of younger people in the city who kind of to be frank, understand that the kind of Instagram culture around this far more than I do, and perhaps some other members of the team here. We'd be really keen to chat and just explore a little bit how we talk about some of that stuff as a city, and kind of challenge it a bit as well. Do you know what I mean? Because it's clearly not a, that's not a positive. It's not a positive thing, is it? And so then we'd like to see how we can kind of work around that kind of stuff. So
yeah, that's amazing.
But we'll do a post just to see if we can get some more chat on that, because I think it's a really important
It's hugely to do with confidence building. It's just about making sure people feel confident to wear the stuff more than once, and then also like celebrate that. Like if it looks good, it looks good. Like wear it again.
That's a bit, you know, that's such, when you're younger in particular, that is such a massive, you know, it's easier to be a bit more kind of relaxed about this stuff when you're older, but that it's a big thing when you're younger, isn't it? You know, so it can, and as you say, if you've got the added pressure of social media, I can certainly see from the outside how it can become an issue.
Sure.
No, we'd definitely like to explore that kind of more. Lottie, I'm conscious of your time. I said we wouldn't take any more half an hour of your time, but I mean, it's a fascinating subject, and it could be one that we maybe, you know, later on in the project kind of look to see about maybe focusing again on this, you know, on the particularly that last theme that we kind of talked about. But I suppose just to kind of round things off, are there any kind of final tips that you'd have for people kind of this over the next month in terms of your clothing kind of choices? I think you've mentioned a couple there, haven't you?
I mean, just to summarize, I would say figure out what you need and when you need it, and figure out what you've got already. Have fun, try things on, see if there's ways you can play around with things. Don't feel the pressure to be like, oh crap, I've got to wear this. You know, I don't think we'll see. I'm very aware of, like, you know, normally you'd have, particularly in London, you get the Oxford Street dash that people do, where they suddenly panic that they've got something the next day and they run to Oxford Street and buy like 5 things from the high street. They're like, I don't even like any of them. I don't think we'll see that this year because we're not running to the shop, but I do think we'll see a similar thing happening with online shopping, where people are like, next day delivery, ASOS, H&M, whatever. And so, or Pretty Little Thing. I think it's just like, start now, think about it now, think about what's coming up, get on Depop, like get on that secondhand site, ask your mates if they have anything they don't want anymore, and also just wear the thing you wore last year, because particularly with party wear, like we definitely don't get enough opportunities to wear those clothes, and so take the opportunities and wear them more than once.
Dress up on your Zoom calls, even if you
exactly.
So I think there's good stuff there. I think the second-hand thing is important. I think the thing you mentioned before about accessorizing as well is a good one, isn't it? You know, the before buying new, to kind of accessorize whether that's a Christmas jumper that you might make yourself, or your Christmas outfit. And the wearing more than once, and then finding a kind of a COVID safe way to kind of swap with friends, neighbours, colleagues, or whatever. So they sound good. Well, after this, we'll do a post and we'll link to all the stuff that you're doing at Hubbub, particularly around the kind of Christmas stuff, but also your other kind of clothing campaigns. And then, you know, one of the things we really like about Hubbub is that you're very generous with your resources. So there's loads of stuff that we'll be sharing as part of Leeds Fashion Futures that you've kind of done kind of already in terms of your work. Because again, I mean, there's such good themes to focus on, aren't they, in terms of, you know, caring for your clothes and things. So Lottie, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Really enjoyed the chat, and thank you to people who've been watching. And we'll be back. We've got another Lunchtime Live tomorrow where we are launching a project that you may have seen us chatting a little bit about, which is called Give Leeds, which is about basically making it as easy as possible for people to find local charities and community groups who are doing online fundraising this Christmas. So you can kind of, you know, maybe instead of if you're not spending money on the Christmas party at work, you might be able to give a few quid to a local group. So that's tomorrow at 1 o'clock on our site. But again, thank you very much, Lottie, and
thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. All right, see you again.
Bye.
See you.